Calling our candidate interviews back into session, please. It is 8:45 p.m. And on behalf of Wayne Westland Community Schools, I would like to welcome Dr. Catherine Koss back for the second interview for the for the position of superintendent. Dr. Koss is interim superintendent of Wayne Westland Community Schools. I will take just a moment to describe our format. The interview may take up to 75 minutes. It will begin with the presentation on the topic provided by the board. Following your presentation, there will be 14 questions. Toward the end of the interview, time permitting, we will give you an opportunity to ask questions of the board and make closing remarks. We will indicate if time is becoming an issue and there is a need to pick up the pace of your responses. Again, for those present for the interview, we welcome and encourage your feedback. Rather than making public comments about our candidates, we ask that you use the QR code provided for this purpose. Although the task of choosing our next superintendent is the responsibility of the Board of Education as the elected representatives of our community, we value and seriously consider the input of our stakeholders in the process. Dr. Koss, you may begin with your presentation on the following topic: how will you grow the district with a focus on full utilization of the Career Tech Center?
First of all, thank you to all 7 of you for this opportunity to come back and return and share more information with you. I am very grateful and humbled. To the large community gathering here, thank you for coming because this process is so important and your involvement means a lot to all of us who are here tonight. So, as President May said, all 3 candidates were given the same homework assignment. So this weekend, I did some thinking about this, and the topic was, she said, was growing Wayne Westland Community Schools through career-connected learning, which I thought was a wonderful topic. I, however, thought about, we have 500 students at our CTC program. That means we also have 9,000 students in our other capacities, be it pre-K all the way through 12th grade. So when I approached this question, I was looking at not only CTC, but also all of our other programs. And I think it's important because we absolutely can leverage the Career Tech Center as the driver of increasing student enrollment, student achievement, financial stability, as well as our community trust. So you're going to keep hearing about those 4 topics because that's what I thought about in terms of growth. I picked this picture. This was in a kindergarten classroom, and I believe it was Hamilton. What struck me about this is we're starting with our younger learners, our kindergarten students. We have them for 13 years. So we're looking at programming from not only kindergarten, but then all the way up through 12th grade. And the growth we have to focus on is it's intentional, it's strategic, and absolutely student-centered. So let's talk about why we want to leverage the Career Tech Center. The bond in 2018 afforded us the chance to renovate and bring wonderful technology there. It is one of our most valuable assets. It has high student engagement, great retention. It attracts new students to the program from not only Wayne, but also John Glenn, as well as schools of choice. And it gives us the ability to develop partnerships with our local businesses and industries. So I was really excited when I saw this topic because of the expansion that we can go. So growth in these 4 areas gives us an opportunity to increase academic proficiency, enrollment, fund balance, and to build our community trust. So if we touch on those 4 areas, my vision is that Wayne Westland will be the district of choice for future-ready learning in Western Wayne County. And this is going to be the case for, of course, our career-focused learning, but also for traditional, hybrid, and virtual learning. And if we complete that vision, that means every student in our district will have a pathway, will have excellence in high quality and engaging opportunities for our students, and families will know what we have to offer. So, the 4 areas. The first was student achievement, growing student achievement. This is identified in our strategic plan with a strong focus on quality Tier 1 instruction, multi-tiered systems of support, meaning what happens if students need more time, need more instruction, need different instruction, how do we wrap around them to make sure they're hitting their growth and proficiency targets? We also want to drastically decrease our chronic absenteeism. By focusing on these areas in our strategic plan, it will mean we will have increased student achievement, students will have a sense of belonging and self-confidence, and a consistent access to high-quality instruction each and every day, because they're coming, they're attending. So that's the first goal. The second goal is increasing our enrollment. So I'm going to start with our programs at CTC. I think it's important that we align these programs with the current labor markets. For example, auto mechanics right now are in such high demand. They're earning $60 to $80 coming out of a program like our CTC program. We want to be able to add certifications for students, meaning they can take more than one at a time. I would like to co-design expanded programs with our industry partners that are local here. I checked out Kalamazoo's career tech school. It's brand new. They created it with a bond of $86 million. And some programming they had that is high demand right now includes aviation technology, computer networking. You can imagine businesses that need to be able to have their techs out in the field talk to the people back in the office, or if they're working remotely, they all have to be able to access their own company's network. Conservation biology is huge, especially with renewable or reusable resources, and veterinary science. At the meet and greet, I happened to be talking to an instructor at CTC who expressed wanting to create a drone class. We have drone certifications in our firefighting and then our EMT, but he gave me the idea that maybe we need to just separate that and create just drone as is. And I thought that was really intriguing. So thank you, Mr. Silveri. The meet and greets work. Expanding these programs, we might run out of room. We have room in Wayne Memorial. We're utilizing 3 classes in John Glenn right now. Could we expand the footprint of CTC? There is an expansion grant through MDE that we could certainly look at how we could create new opportunities for our students. So if we do this, we are going to make our CTC program a regional destination. If you will, it'll become a hub of not just our community, but neighboring communities. It's going to attract students. It's going to have evening programming. Think about that, where a student maybe who's in a traditional course or in virtual programming during the day could come at night and pick up more certifications. Adults, the board and I have had conversations about adults being able to come and utilize that space. That's very powerful. I also think about our younger learners. Karen, with the STEM program, has students coming in over the summer doing exploratory work. We could offer summer camps. We could offer middle school interest programs. And again, that would create a pipeline for when students become high school age and could be taking some of the certifications. But I want to market this as our flagship program, market it not only to our district, but also neighboring programs, and involve not only our current students, but potentially community members as well. So that's how I would increase enrollment in CTC. If I'm looking at our traditional hybrid and virtual learning environments, how would we increase enrollment there? I think it's super important that we maintain strong programming with our fine arts, our AP classes, WIA's offerings, both hybrid and virtual, and our free athletic programs. We absolutely have to continue our strong mental health support for our families. If we are going to educate our students, they have to be able to be safe and supported. That's got to be a must. We also have to meet families where they are. If we don't remove the barriers that are blocking their students' achievements, then we're not fulfilling what we need to do. So if we do all those things, I see our enrollment increasing, I see higher attendance rates, and strong gains in our academic achievement. Aggressive marketing and branding is a part of this. We need to be able to tell our story, and I'd like to do this through student success models. I became aware of a young man who he graduated with an auto certification, but went to college. On the evenings and weekends, he was working at a car dealership, earning $65 an hour. That's how he paid for his college education. And those are the success stories we need to build upon. I'd like to have experience it tours where families can come in and see students working, come in the evening, see the wonderful opportunities, as well as outreach to those who we know might be going to other places. So that's how we would grow. The result of that growth would create financial stability, not just for CTC, but also our district. My vision is to absolutely have a fund balance over 20%. And what will that allow us to do? It will allow us to continue to pay our staff well and retain them. It'll let us create a high-impact curriculum for all of our students and afford each campus modern and well-equipped. That's exciting to be able to do. So the last goal I had by growing CTC, as well as our district, was increasing community trust. And I'd like to do that with strong two-way face-to-face communication. Jen Curry, when she was here, had great results with going to the community, going to community centers. She brought dinner. She brought guest speakers to get input. What's working, what's not working, what are some great opportunities we can connect your students with. We can tell our stories about the academic, social, and emotional support we have for their children. And another way is to connect with local businesses and employers so that they know where our students are going to be coming from, what skills they need. I think about Kiwanis, I think about Rotary, I think about Livonia Westland Chamber of Commerce. That's just the beginning, so that we can develop partnerships for our CTC students and others. A result of getting more community trust is that we're going to have more Wayne Westland parents send their students to us, their children to us, and as I said, our CTC program will become a hub within our community. I believe it was Mr. Ambrose who said, if you measure something, what really changes is if you report out on those measurements. So it's important to me to say if we're making a difference or not. If we go out in the community, how do we know we're making a difference? If we're marketing, how do we know if it's working? So what I would measure and report back to you on would be our CTC enrollment growth, as well as the number of industry certifications that were earned. Then as far as achievement, we'd want to measure our performance on state and local assessments. And I am big on proficiency, not just growth. We would look at our overall district enrollment, our fund balance, and if families and students know what we have to offer. Something I have experienced in my time here is being able to go from school to school to school and see the wonderful things that are happening in our classrooms, in our hallways, even in our lunches, and I want to tell that story. So, in doing so, I sincerely believe that we can lead this region. I want people statewide to know about Wayne Westland and what we are doing, because we're going to create a relevant, rigorous, and connected to the real world experience for our young people. We're going to fully utilize the Career Tech Center, and we're not going to just grow enrollment. My vision is that we're going to grow opportunities for each and every student. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Koss. You have about 59 minutes to start the 14 questions, all right? And so the first question, since deciding to become a candidate and participating in the search process, what has reinforced your aspiration to be the superintendent of Wayne Westland Community Schools?
The building tours were phenomenal. I really enjoyed them being student-led. In some cases, the principals just turned me loose with the students, and they, inside and out, knew their stuff. They really did. It was very apparent that they had a lot of student pride, that they had studied and done their homework. One young man met me at the door and opened the door for me, which I thought was lovely. So when I went on those student tours, I saw high levels of engagement. I saw clean schools. I saw leaders who were active in providing educational leadership. I saw parents who were being helped. I saw people, food. I got a chicken sandwich. I made a comment to the food service staff how good lunch smelled, and maybe I'm not supposed to say I was given a free chicken sandwich. I probably should have paid for it.
We won't tell they what.
Okay. And she just said, "You've had a long morning. Here you go." It's just a community that surrounds every student with love, and I so believe that I can make a difference in putting all these pieces of our puzzle together and moving us forward. And I'm excited to do that.
Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Koss. How would you ensure that our district spending is aligned with our priorities?
Oh, that's going to be so important. So I go back to our strategic plan. That's what drives our daily work. And our checkbook has to look like that is where we're spending our money. I'll give you an example. In your personal life, your Visa bill statement should reflect your priorities. You know, if you're going to a gym, if you're going to, I don't know, healthy stores, if you're going to small businesses. So your checkbook or your Visa bill should reflect what your priorities are. If you're trying to be healthy, it shouldn't be fast food. It shouldn't be stops at 7-Eleven. So again, aligning priorities with expenses. No different than our school's budget of $144 million. are we aligning what we need with what our most important work is? So here's an example. We have hired additional bus drivers and aides so that we make sure we do not have canceled routes to school. That was a priority of the board, and I am happy to say that we are canceling 93% less routes than we did a year ago. So that's an example of spending where priorities are. And that has to drive every decision.
Mr. Cox?
Good evening, Dr. Cost. My question is, how do you expect the advent of artificial intelligence to change classroom instruction and student learning, and what actions should our district take now to prepare?
So I was on a lunchtime seminar with our Superintendent's Association just yesterday, talking about this, or listening. It wasn't very back and forth. So I'm constantly trying to learn how these tools will impact our students and our teachers. AI is here to stay. As much as you don't want it, I liken it to like when we all got email, there was some apprehension on teachers' behalf of, is this gonna mean more work? And it wasn't. It actually made better. Parents could contact them on their time, teachers could contact parents on their time. Now students even have emails. We don't have as many people at parent-teacher conferences because they have that information readily available. So AI, I believe, is here to stay. Our challenge is, how do we teach our children to use it in an effective as well as an ethical way? And what are some ways they need to do that? And what are some ways they don't need to do that? So I will give you an example. We are looking at many platforms that deliver AI. Mr. Beebe and Dr. Jefferson have convened the AI task force. So it has teachers, it has administrators, students, and they are looking at what platform is best. Is it Gemini? Is it ChatGPT? There's some others that are school-centered. There are guardrails for students, meaning you can't say, create a compare and contrast essay about blah, blah, blah. These will not do that. And so the guardrails are so students can perhaps get an outline, but then create their own draft. It talked about the importance, the task group is talking about the importance of how teachers can see student progress incrementally. So for example, if you're assigning a research paper, being able to see drafts of it so that it's not just thrown into ChatGPT the night before and spit out. So teachers can work with students as they are developing it. The guardrails include letting students use AI, but in safe as well as ethical and practical ways. And that's going to be important as they go to college. My children are in college. Their professors say, we run your work through an AI detector, and so they know if that's authentic work or not. So those are some of the things we're looking at bringing into our district by the fall of next year, so we can make sure students are able to use this wonderful tool, teachers are able to use this wonderful tool, but in the appropriate ways.
Thank you. Dr. Weaver.
Thank you. Good evening, Dr. Cost. What would be your top 3 priorities for our district over the next 12 months? And how would you assess your progress on achieving these priorities?
So, last time I was here, I dropped off my 90-day plan. So I think you said a year, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes.
So I just want to talk about the first 30, 60, and 90 days, because that's going to carry us into the end of that answer. So the first 30 days, which, if I am chosen on April 7th, day one is April 8th. That's when I begin. I roll up my shirt sleeves and look at developing relationships with you, with teachers, with administrators, anybody who will sit down and talk to me. And the focus questions are going to be, what do we do well? What do we need to improve upon? How do you see that work being done? And what are the next big things ahead? So it's going to be very important that I really take time to listen and learn from as many constituents. I would go to Jenny's parent advisory meeting. I would go to student council meetings. I would go to PTO meetings and really collect this information. So that's month one. That would be April. May, I would start looking at data, which is perfect because that's when our schools start reporting out on their strategic plan data for the year, as well as celebrating it. So it's perfect because they're collecting it, and that would give me a chance to look and see, where did we move forward? Where did we not hit the mark? Then that would allow me to, in June, start looking at, with school leaders, with leaders here in central office, what are our goals for next year? What resources do we need? Julie's going to be developing her budget. And so that goes back to the budget question about aligning our budget to our most important work and getting a sense of the direction for the next school year. And that would take me then to the next 9 months when school would start. We would monitor progress with our district school improvement teams, as well as our, if we're monitoring absenteeism, we have a team who's monitoring that. We have groups that are working on things like common assessments. We would need to implement them. I was learning that the high school has developed such good common assessments, we may no longer be asking students to take the NWEA, which is a celebration, because it means that our own assessments will tell us much more than a standardized test will. So it's going to be looking at data cycles, it's going to be continuous improvement, it's going to be board workshops with all of you. How is our budget? How is our enrollment? How are our programs? What do we need to do to move forward?
Dr. Koss, how do you think various stakeholders, such as parents, staff members, and community members, should be involved in our planning process and in setting direction for the district?
What made me kind of think when you were talking is that we have just released our parent and student surveys that we do for the school improvement process. That's part of the, that's a stipulation that we do, so we do it every year. Those surveys were just released. There's QR codes in every school. So when I was doing my school tours yesterday, I saw the QR codes that families can scan right on the spot and provide feedback. So when I think about all of those stakeholders, they all need a voice at the table to tell us what we're doing well, what we need to change, and how we need to do that work. I'll give you an example. And this is going to go to something as minute as what we offer in food service. We thought we were hitting the target. It turns out, as a result of those surveys, we found out we weren't hitting the target. And I don't know, when I'm in the cafeterias, I say, what's the best part of your day? And they're like, lunch, of course, even high school kids. And that is a place where it might seem kind of mundane to you or me, but that's really important if you're a student, and that you have halal food if you are needing that as a requirement, or you have gluten-free or vegan. What is it they need? And so by getting some input, that was from students, we found out we weren't hitting the mark. In some parent surveys, we find things like start times, end times. It's hard to get my child from a middle school to, and then drop off an elementary school student. So we adjusted start times to accommodate families. So it's things like that that help us make it better for the consumer, give them a voice in our planning. I would, for example, bring some of those things to the community forums that I envision having, and talking not only to staff to get their feedback. Food service, I don't remember if I mentioned this in this meeting or one of the other ones. I was at John Glenn, and a food service employee kind of called me over, and she said, "You're that person." Was it here that I told this story?
No.
Maybe not. Okay. "You're that person." And I said, "Yes, my name is Catherine." She said, "Can you do something about the parking?" The students were parking in the food service employees' parking, which made it hard for them to get in the door that was closest to the kitchen. So I admittedly am not the person to solve that, but I certainly can get the right people on it. So that's an example of how, even of just being visible and having an open door policy, staff will come to me and I can remove barriers for them. So, thank you.
Dr. Cost, competition to traditional public schools in the form of school of choice, charter schools, private schools, and virtual programs has significantly increased. How, in your opinion, can we remain the district of choice for students and families within our district boundaries?
Thank you for that question. We lost 300 students this fall, which was like a punch in the stomach. It surprised us all, so we started to dig deeper into why that happened. So it highlighted the trend you're talking about. 2,600 students who live in Wayne Westland choose to go to other schools, be it other communities, be it charters, academies, and that is a lot, 2,600. So I started to rack my brain about how do we bring them back? 200 students, and I think I said this in my other interview, 200 students attend a virtual program in Avondale. They leave our community, they have to go to Avondale 5 times a year. Why are they going to Oakland County for this? And we offer the same virtual program. And my conclusion was they just don't know. And so I really believe that if we were to talk about free athletics, K-12, if we were to talk about virtual options we offer at WIA, Chris's grown enrollment, leaps and bounds. If we talked about our hybrid program, of course CTC, our AP classes, our fine arts, where else can a student want to learn how to play trombone and not have to rent a trombone? We give them free instruments. Those are the things that set Wayne Westland apart. I don't believe our families know enough about us to keep their students here. So we have hired an advertising firm that is targeting families. A difference is that when they click on, "Please send me more information," they are followed up with a phone call 24 hours later. We have made contact with 187 families in 3 weeks as a result of that marketing campaign to date. And we are going to run that through August. Michelle, who is fantastic in our enrollment department, is setting up tours for families. She is sending them information. She's setting up meetings with principals and just getting families aware of everything we have to offer. So that's something we're trying this year so that we can retain and bring back those 2,600.
Thank you. Ms. Ebony Mitchell?
Okay. Good evening again, Dr. Cross. My question is, if a serious safety incident happened at the school or at a school event, what would you do in the first 24 hours? Describe how you would keep students and staff safe. Work with the police and emergency responders. Tell families and the public what they need to know and keep the school board informed while protecting privacy?
I think every educator's worst nightmare is a school safety event. It rocks us to the core to think something might happen in our hallways, in our cafeterias, in our classrooms. Where I find solace is the strong, proactive district safety team. They meet bi-weekly. They make sure schools are doing drills. They make sure doors are locked. They make sure AEDs have updated batteries, equipment. Members of this team range from communications to CIA, to our buildings and grounds, to transportation. They make sure ALICE drills are done on time. They make sure that fire extinguishers are charged and ready to go. They operate on a proactive level. They also are, they take into account, so the Temple, Israel, Bethel, the Temple incident in Bloomfield Hills where the car drove in, they will look at situations like that and say, what happened if that were to occur at one of our schools? How would we respond? The SROs are on this. This information is then sent out to school safety committees, which every school has one. And the result is that those proactive measures make sure that in the event like something like that happens, that we are operating on all cylinders. We will automatically know where the first call goes to. How do we involve our SROs? How do we involve police and fire? They have badge entry to each of our schools. All of our schools' doors are numbered. So if there's a crisis, a kid can look, and they're numbered inside and outside, so a kid can look up and call 911 from their cell phone and say, I'm at door 6 at this school. They instantly know how to respond. Keeping all of you updated, keeping parents updated. So something I learned when I was in Wyandotte is an event can happen at one school, but then I have to look at all the neighboring schools. So it might be an elementary school, but if there's a middle school down the road, I need to make sure those parents know. And if there's another high school down the road the other way, I need to make sure they know. So there's a perimeter. Eventually everybody will know. But who needs to know first? We're blessed to have a communications department which has templates and can get things by text, by email, so that you all know first, the rest of the staff knows second, and then the rest of the district knows third. Parents are with the rest of the district because we need them to know their children are safe. We do evacuation drills. In the event we need to move students from one site to another, parents will know where to come and pick up their children at the reunification point. We have hard copies of every emergency form, so if for whatever reason there's no internet wherever that reunification site is, we know what parents to ask for ID to pick up that child. I'm going to give you an example of why this is so important. At Roosevelt Elementary, there was a parent coming to pick up a child from Champions. The secretary happened to be there working late. The parent had just signed out the child and collapsed, was not breathing, and was turning blue. The staff at Champions did an outstanding job of making sure no child nearby knew what was going on, including the daughter. That staff moved the children to a different area. Other staff members called 911. Another staff member called Sandy in the office. She runs down with the AED. There was no hesitation. She runs down with the AED. The Champion staff member is performing CPR. EMS is rolling. Sandy starts getting the defibrillator rolling. End result, they ended up saving this woman's life EMS came and continued to do CPR. They loaded her in the ambulance. She was awake and back alive. And that happened in the blink of an eye, and our staff responded because of the drills we do. Those are the proactive steps that I know make a difference.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Cost. Meaningful family engagement goes beyond announcements and newsletters. It requires intentional two-way communication that meets families where they are, reflects the diverse needs of the community, and is directly connected to improving student achievement, attendance, and school culture. As someone who has served this district in an interim capacity, what specific steps have you already taken to build relationships with Wayne Westland families? And what does your concrete plan look like for ensuring that family engagement becomes a measurable and consistent driver of student outcomes? Not a broad initiative, but a targeted strategy that reaches the families who are hardest to reach.
That's a really important question. And I say that because we absolutely need our families to be engaged. For the strength of this community, for having them come to our schools, that is one of the markers. So in my presentation I did today, I used the words community trust. And that was one of the very important 4 things that I would do in this next 90 days, a year. That would be a strong focus, 100%. And I see community trust and engagement kind of overlapping. So I mentioned going to where families are, community centers. Maybe it's elementary athletics, meeting them there. Maybe it's their place of worship. Maybe it's the libraries. I will go where they are so that I can listen, I can develop a relationship. I would be the face of the district, and I would be able to connect them to resources or people that could help them. I talked about measuring and then reporting if this is working. So surveys are one way. Another way is just how many people am I able to talk to? If they're not showing up, I'm not at the right places. Communication is also a part of that engagement. Are people reading what I write? I told, I think it was a group of staff members yesterday that, so every 2 weeks I write a little column in Learn, Grow, and Know, which goes out to all our staff. I have no idea if they read it, if they click on it, if they open it. I know one person did, because I wrote about my son breaking his collarbone over the holiday break. And so when I was somewhere, a secretary said, "Oh, how was your son?" Mm-hmm. So I know one person read it. But we need mechanisms to know if I'm communicating, is it hitting the mark? Because if people aren't opening it, if we're not getting views, then I'm not going to the right places and I'm not getting the right engagement. Relationships are extremely important to me. I saw on a Facebook post a community member who had put some information and was just not happy with what was happening, but the information was erroneous. So I had Kim make an appointment with her, and she came in to see me, and I could present like what I know to be true. What was very positive about that is I believe it opened up our two-way communication, which you mentioned, and has allowed continued dialogue to happen. And I never want anybody disgruntled, mad, angry. I just don't. And if I can diffuse that, that's very important to me. We worked with another parent, President May, and she is getting the help she was seeking. So those are the good things that need to happen because it's our brand, it's our market, And engagement is a huge part of that. Trust is a huge part of that. Relationships are. And I believe that's going to be a big part of my work in the next year.
Thank you.
My question is, when you have an administrative team that may have differences of opinions, how do you reconcile those differences and get everyone to move in the same direction?
So when I started here with my executive leadership team, with the executive, they're not mine, with the executive leadership team, that's important to me. I brought something called levels of decision making. So one level is I make the decision. So think about if there's a fire, you pull the fire drill, right? Like the fire alarm. You don't gather everybody together and collaborate, you act. So some decisions need to be just me due to the nature of them. Other decisions are I will decide with your input. Other decisions are a level 3, which is we all have the same vote. The 5 of us all have the same vote. We're going to collaborate and figure out how do we move forward. The next level of decision making is I trust them to make the decision. I don't need to be a part of it. Now, why was that important? We were posting a position and we had a disagreement about where to bring that person in, what level. And what's super important about making that decision is that you've got maybe 20 other employees that are in a similar situation, and you don't want to pay this person more and negate all the hard work those other 20 are doing. You've got to see kind of where it fits. Well, we all did not agree. And I decided it was important for us as a team because we all represented different areas that we need to do that together. So that was a decision where we all had the same vote. And that was important because that built us as a team. I think difference in opinions make us stronger. And I told them, we are not always going to agree. There's going to be times where we're going to agree to disagree. But the conversation, the dialogue is what's going to make that ultimate decision stronger. So differing opinions, I think, give us an opportunity to problem solve. But there are times when I need to make the decision and we move forward. And we'll do that. But they know ahead of time. So they don't walk into that thinking, oh, my voice is equal, and then I pull the rug out from underneath them. They know ahead of time what kind of decision this is. Thank you.
Welcome.
Dr. Cost, if you had to choose only one action or initiative that would improve the district's reputation, what would it be, and how would you measure its impact?
Just one? Can you read that question again?
If you had to choose one action or initiative that would improve the district's reputation, what would it be, and how would you measure its impact?
Student involvement. Let me share some thinking. Our reputation happens when alumni leave. Our reputation happens when parents see their child engaged, when they see their child growing, learning, experiencing new things. I was talking to a preschool mom picking up her son who said he was going to try t-ball. She knew nothing about t-ball, but she was ecstatic. Her son was going to try t-ball. So when our students are involved with programs, CTC, virtual, hybrid, band, arts, AP classes, when they participate in athletics, they are engaged, they're part of the community, they're surrounded by great teachers, mentors, coaches, band directors, choir directors, great people. And so I know that if the students are engaged, that's going to trickle out to when they become alumni, when they're talking to their neighbor, about a program they're in, when parents are talking at their place of worship about the basketball game they just saw their daughter play in, or like the Hicks versus Hicks basketball game and how many cheerleaders were there. Those types of engagements are what's going to drive the reputation. I can measure that by knowing how many children are involved in all of those programs, and if we're growing it, or if it's stagnant, or if there are some programs we need to stop offering and others we need to start.
Dr. Weaver?
Yes. Dr. Cost, how would you assess the effectiveness of our current strategic plan? And what decision-making process would you use to make adjustments that improve outcomes?
So this question's coming at a great time because we're kind of nearing the end of the year. And matter of fact, our third quarter district strategic plan team meeting was it was either last week or the week before, where we started looking at data from where we're getting schools from. It was data like, where is our chronic absenteeism? Where is our student growth with MTSS? I saw some terrific elementary data today, matter of fact, that showed how many students in ELA are needing interventions. And I think it went from 80 last quarter, now it's like 23, which is outstanding. That says we're hitting the mark in our classrooms. We're seeing students who don't need vast amounts of extra help. Common assessment work, is a goal of mine. We're monitoring it. The teams were meeting just last week again. I believe those were high school teams, and that work is on target to be done. So as a district-wide strategic planning team is looking at where we are we hitting the mark? Chronic absenteeism, I will tell you, was a little disappointing. We are not making a big dent in that. So that caused us to ask questions as to why. And here's what we came up with. We're gonna test it to see if that's the case in fourth quarter. Our chronic absenteeism is not going down, but a wondering we have is if it's because more people are taking attendance. So if more people are taking attendance now, we have more data. And so we now are making, so not everybody was taking attendance, so we put a mechanism in place to make sure people are taking attendance. Well, they're taking attendance now, and we're getting more data. And we suspect that because we're paying attention to it, and we're doing it more not ethically, but more across the board, that those numbers aren't where we would like them to be right now. So I say this because in May, we're going to have a celebration. Each district team is going to come and celebrate wins, which is so important that we not just look at data, but we celebrate where we move the needle forward. As a district, we're going to have a fourth quarter district improvement plan meeting and look at all the data together, which then will set the stage for creating next year's strategic plan targets. Thank you.
Dr. Weaver?
It's,
Oh, was that you?
Dr. Cost, approximately 21% of Wayne Westland Community School students are served under individualized education programs and are legally entitled to at least a least restrictive environment, meaning many learn alongside their general education peers daily. As superintendent, how would you foster the shared understanding and staff support needed to ensure that all students, with and without IEPs, thrive in inclusive settings?
We are blessed to have so many caring, talented, knowledgeable special ed teachers. It is so, I was at the senior center this afternoon, hearing third graders from Wildwood sing. What warmed my heart is it was all third graders. There were students who were wearing headphones, likely because loud noises bothered them. There were students who were stemming, meaning, doing things with their hands. That was their coping mechanism while they were singing and in front of people. There was a parapro next to a young lady who clearly was anxious, and she was providing support. So I think about the blessing of this opportunity where all students of all abilities were able to get on the bus, go to the senior center, and sing the songs. That to me is a great example of what least restrictive environment could be. That is absolutely the target. Sometimes it takes figuring out. We did not do a good job at the beginning of the year with a young man. He was 5, and that's hard because when they come to us, it's hard to know their background. Was this a situation of, the student wasn't very verbal? Why? Is it a hearing issue? Is it a lack of parallel conversation at home or wherever, during the course of the first 5 years? Or is it a developmental issue? Or all three? And it was very frustrating to the staff at that school because they suspected things. The push and pull is that to identify a child, testing has to be done, observations have to be done, and what's frustrating is the staff were raising their hands saying, this is not right. This is not least restrictive for this young student. He was running, he was kicking, he was punching, he was hurting other students. And when that happens, we need to be able to react and as a team work with those educators to say, how do we provide the supports for that student? So ultimately, he was identified. But when they're 5, it's hard because you don't know where they're coming from yet. And I don't think we hit the mark with that one. We have just great resources with RISA, and our Act 18 programs service our most needy students and provide them opportunities. I was at Stottlemyre on my district tour yesterday and was in a classroom where it was preschool students and then students who were in a special ed classroom were together getting life skills training from the Wildwood specials teachers. The Wildwood specials teachers come and deliver specials to Stottlemyre students. It was so refreshing to see the gen ed and the special ed students together receiving the same instruction, doing the same activities, and that was a great case of least restrictive environment. So we have a great special ed team. Sometimes we don't always get it right, but we're going to work hard to make sure we do.
Thank you.
Dr. Cost, how would you meet the needs of college readiness while also providing high-quality, relevant career-focused opportunities for students?
That question's got so much potential. So, of course, the presentation focused on career-focused. I would love to see that expanded to create some more high-demand opportunities for students. And we may be confined by space, but we have space. We just have to figure out how to use it. The teachers there absolutely love what they're doing. Josh gave me a tour of the program yesterday, and his students had developed a robotic arm to pick tomatoes and peppers. How cool is that? They have 2 greenhouses. So their creativity, their collaboration make that a right place to continue to bring new programming in and make new opportunities. And again, as I mentioned before, elementary students exposure, middle school students exposure to build and create a hub where even adults come. The dual enrollment opportunities that happen at WIA are out of this world. Well, I'm sorry, I misspoke. Early college is at WIA. That's where students can go for 5 years and have an associate's degree and a college diploma. What a great thing. And those students are engaged and excited to be a part of that. Dual enrollment happens at our comprehensive high schools, Wayne Memorial, John Glenn. Students, I had a young man when I was in Wyandotte, he was a talented trumpet player. He had gone through all of our music classes, our music theory classes, so he went to Wayne State as a senior and played in their band. That resulted in him getting a full ride to Wayne State in their band program. He was just, and again, what a great thing. We kept him in our school, but then we're able to grow his talents through dual enrollment. That's exciting. Our AP classes offer children a chance to get college credit while they're in high school. We have so many electives, which warms my heart because sometimes students don't know what they're good at doing.
Right.
And by goodness, you take an art class and all of a sudden you find out you have a talent. Or you pick up an instrument you didn't know you could play.
That's right.
And I think we just have a pathway for everybody. Thank you.
Thanks. Ms. Ed.D. Mitchell?
Yes. As superintendent, you may promote a open door culture. How do you balance being accessible to individual board members while maintaining the governance structure? I keep on switching this around. Why honoring the government structure that the board president is the primary liaison?
So communication with all of you is very, very important because if you don't have all the information you have, you cannot make good decisions when proposals come your way. You also might hear things in the community that I don't hear. And it's important that together we work as a team to be able to resolve some of those issues or support some of our families differently. Ms. Abney Mitchell, you sit on the hearing committee. So
Yes.
on Wednesdays, sometimes you'll stop by after, and sometimes I'm there and sometimes I'm not.
Correct.
And I enjoy those little drop-in conversations. I do quite a bit. Some of you were at Untapped and Uncorked, and again, I enjoyed just those informal conversations. I never want you to feel as though I will not have the time, because it's very important we work together as a team of 8, and most importantly, that you trust me in what I'm communicating, what I'm doing, and then vice versa. So, balancing the open door, if I'm available, I absolutely would love to say hi or hear you out. Shannon, you pop in sometimes to come and get tickets or other things, and it's great to see all of you because we need to feel the pulse of the district together to move it forward. So I welcome that.
Thank you. time, we would like to take a few minutes now to provide you with an opportunity, Dr. Cross, to ask any questions you might have for the board and/or any closing remarks.
First of all, I have very much enjoyed going through this process. It's been one that's been very reflective for me. A question that I think I'd like to answer is, and this came up in some of the staff and the administrative and community presentations, was how long I would stay. And my answer to that is, as long as you will have me. The life expectancy of a superintendent is between 2 and 3 years, and that's gone down quite a bit. I would love to be here for 3, 5, 7, 9, because what is rewarding to me is to see the fruits of my labors, to see the impact that the decisions we're going to make are going to have. That's what drives me to want to be here. That's what drives me to make a difference to the teachers in our classrooms, to the custodians, to maintenance, bus drivers, to food service. Let me take barriers away from them so they can do their jobs, which is going to translate to great experiences for our students. So I give you my commitment, and I would stay as long as you'll have me. I respect the work we've done these 9 months, and some of it's been difficult. I think about the 31AA decision, about whether we accept those funds or not, and having meetings with attorneys and wrestling, what do we do when there really is no clear-cut good decision? And I feel as though we did good work together. I thought the process that we created had as positive as an outcome as we could have had. And I look forward to doing more work like that with all of you in the years to come.
Thank you, Dr. Cost. We sincerely appreciate your time and continued interest in being the next superintendent of Wayne Westland Community Schools. We plan to make our final determination on April 7th, and we'll let you know of our decision immediately afterwards. Again, thank you so much for being here with us again this evening.